She was supposed to save babies. Instead, she was convicted of murdering 7 of them and attempting to kill 7 more. Lucy Letby, a neonatal nurse at a hospital in Chester, England, became one of the UK's most prolific child killers. She's serving 15 whole life sentences. She will never be released. But here's the twist. In 2025, 14 international medical experts reviewed her case, and they say the evidence used to convict her was wrong, that she may be innocent. And now the entire United Kingdom is asking one question: is Lucy Letby a monster? Or is she the victim of the biggest miscarriage of justice in British history? Before we dive into one of the most controversial cases in the UK right now, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join the American Shadow family. This case is trending worldwide. It's dividing experts. It's dividing the public. And it's still unfolding. Drop your state in the comments below. Let's talk about this together. This is the story of Lucy Letby and the babies she was convicted of killing. Lucy Letby was born on January 4, 1990, in Hereford, England. She was an only child. Her parents, John and Susan Letby, doted on her. She had a normal childhood. She did well in school. She was described as friendly, hardworking, and caring. From a young age, Lucy wanted to be a nurse. She loved helping people. She was drawn to pediatrics, to working with children. And in 2011, she achieved her dream. She qualified as a neonatal nurse, a specialist in caring for premature and sick newborn babies. In 2012, Lucy started working at the Countess of Chester Hospital in Chester, England. She worked in the neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU. This is where the most vulnerable babies are cared for. Premature babies, babies with health complications, babies fighting for their lives. Lucy was good at her job. Her colleagues liked her. Parents trusted her. She seemed dedicated, compassionate. She even won a nursing award. By all accounts, Lucy Letby was an excellent nurse. But then, something strange started happening. In June 2015, 3 years after Lucy started working at the hospital, the number of unexpected baby deaths and collapses in the NICU began to rise. Dramatically. The neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital was small. They didn't usually see that many deaths or critical incidents. But suddenly, babies were collapsing, babies were dying, and no one could figure out why. Between June 2015 and June 2016, there were 24 unexpected collapses or deaths of babies in the neonatal unit. This was far higher than normal, and doctors started to notice a pattern. Lucy Letby was on shift during almost every single incident. At first, no one wanted to believe it. Lucy was their colleague, their friend. She seemed so caring, so dedicated. But the statistics were impossible to ignore. Whenever Lucy was working, babies collapsed. Whenever she wasn't working, the unit was stable. Senior doctors at the hospital became concerned. Dr. Stephen Breary, the lead consultant, started keeping records. He noticed that Lucy was present for every unexplained collapse. He raised his concerns with hospital management multiple times, but the hospital didn't act. They didn't want to believe that one of their nurses could be harming babies. They told the doctors to stop making accusations. They even forced Dr. Breary and other consultants to apologize to Lucy for their suspicions. And Lucy? She continued working, and babies continued to collapse. Finally, in June 2016, after another baby nearly died while Lucy was on duty, the hospital removed her from the neonatal unit. They moved her to a clerical role. She was no longer caring for babies, and immediately, the unexplained collapses stopped. The death rate returned to normal. The pattern was undeniable. In May 2017, Cheshire Police launched a formal investigation. They called it Operation Hummingbird. They began reviewing every baby death and collapse that had occurred in the neonatal unit between 2015 and 2016. The investigation was massive. Police interviewed hundreds of witnesses. They reviewed thousands of medical records. They analyzed shift patterns. They searched Lucy's home, and what they found was disturbing. At Lucy's home, police discovered handwritten notes, pages and pages of notes. Some were work-related, but others were strange. One note said, "I am evil. I did this." Another said, "I killed them on purpose because I'm not good enough to care for them." And another, "I don't deserve to live. I killed them on purpose." The prosecution would later argue that these notes were Lucy's confessions, her admissions of guilt. But Lucy and her defense team said they were the ramblings of a woman having a mental breakdown, a woman being accused of something she didn't do. Police also found hospital documents at Lucy's home, confidential records, medical notes about the babies who had died, and social media searches. Lucy had been looking up the families of the babies on Facebook, checking their profiles, seeing how they were coping. The prosecution said this showed Lucy's obsession with her victims, that she was reliving her crimes. But the defense said it showed a nurse who cared about the families she'd worked with, who wanted to make sure they were okay. In November 2020, Lucy Letby was arrested and charged, 7 counts of murder, 15 counts of attempted murder. She pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial began in October 2022 at Manchester Crown Court. It lasted 10 months, one of the longest murder trials in British history. The prosecution presented their case. They said Lucy Letby deliberately harmed babies in her care, that she injected them with air, that she poisoned them with insulin, that she force-fed them milk until they choked, that she physically assaulted them. They pointed to the shift patterns. Lucy was present for every single incident. They showed the jury Lucy's notes. "I am evil. I did this." They presented medical evidence, expert testimony from doctors who said the baby's symptoms were consistent with deliberate harm. And they showed the jury messages Lucy had sent to colleagues. In one message, after a baby died, Lucy wrote, "There are no words. I feel very sad and keep thinking about it all." The prosecution said this showed her guilt, her obsession. The defense fought back. They argued that correlation does not equal causation. Just because Lucy was present when babies collapsed didn't mean she caused it. She was one of the most senior nurses. She worked the busiest shifts. Of course she'd be present for emergencies. They argued that the neonatal unit at the Countess of Chester Hospital was understaffed and under-resourced, that the babies were extremely premature and vulnerable, that sometimes, tragically, babies die. And it's not always because someone killed them. They challenged the medical evidence. They brought in their own experts who said the baby's symptoms could have had natural causes, that there was no definitive proof Lucy had harmed anyone, and they explained the notes. Lucy was being accused of murdering babies. She was devastated, depressed, suicidal. The notes were written during a mental breakdown. They weren't confessions. They were the writings of a woman who was falling apart. But the jury didn't believe her. On August 18th, 2023, after 65 hours of deliberation, they returned their verdict. Guilty of murdering 7 babies, of attempting to murder 6 others. The jury couldn't reach a verdict on one additional attempted murder charge. Lucy Letby showed no emotion. She sat in the dock staring straight ahead. She didn't cry. She didn't react. She just sat there. On August 21st, 2023, Lucy Letby was sentenced. Mr. Justice Goss gave her a whole life order, 15 whole life sentences. She would never be released. She would spend the rest of her life in prison. Lucy refused to appear in court for her sentencing. She stayed in her cell. She didn't want to face the families of the babies she was convicted of killing. The families read victim impact statements. Parents talked about their grief, their anger, their pain. Some said they could never forgive Lucy. Others said they hoped she would rot in prison. And Lucy? She maintained her innocence. She said she didn't do it. She said she was wrongly convicted. In July 2024, there was a retrial for the one attempted murder charge the jury couldn't agree on. This time, the jury found Lucy guilty. She was given another whole life sentence. Lucy Letby was now officially one of the UK's most prolific child killers. She was compared to Beverly Allett, another British nurse who killed 4 children in 1991. The media called Lucy the Angel of Death. But then, something unexpected happened. people started questioning the conviction. In February 2025, a panel of 14 international medical experts reviewed the evidence used to convict Lucy Letby. These were neonatologists, statisticians, and forensic scientists from around the world, and they said the evidence was flawed, seriously flawed. They disputed the prosecution's claim that Lucy injected babies with air. They said the medical evidence didn't support it, that the symptoms described could have had natural causes. They questioned the insulin poisoning allegations. They said the testing was unreliable, that the results were misinterpreted. They challenged the shift pattern analysis. They said it was statistical manipulation, that the data was cherry-picked to make Lucy look guilty. And they said the prosecution's medical experts had given misleading testimony, that they'd presented theories as facts, that they'd ignored alternative explanations. One of the experts, Dr. Gale, said there was overwhelming evidence that Lucy Letby was wrongly convicted, that the case against her was built on faulty science and confirmation bias. The UK was stunned. Could Lucy Letby be innocent? Could she be serving 15 whole life sentences for crimes she didn't commit? In March 2025, Lucy's legal team submitted an application for appeal. They're arguing that her conviction is unsafe, that the medical evidence was unreliable, that she deserves a new trial. The Court of Appeal will review the application, but it could take months, even years, for a decision. Meanwhile, the controversy continues. In July 2025, 3 senior hospital managers from the Countess of Chester Hospital were arrested. They're being investigated for gross negligence manslaughter. The allegation? That they ignored warnings from doctors about Lucy, that they allowed her to continue working, and that their negligence contributed to babies' deaths. There's also a public inquiry underway, the Thirlwall Inquiry. It's examining what happened at the Countess of Chester Hospital, how Lucy was able to harm babies for so long, and why the hospital didn't act sooner. So what's the truth? Is Lucy Letby guilty? Or is she innocent? The families of the babies believe she's guilty. They were in court, they heard the evidence, and they're convinced Lucy killed their children. But the medical experts say the evidence is flawed, that the convictions are unsafe, that Lucy may have been wrongly convicted. The UK is divided. Some people believe Lucy is a monster who deserves to spend her life in prison. Others believe she's the victim of a rush to judgment, a scapegoat for systemic failures at an understaffed hospital. And Lucy? She's in HMP Bronzefield, a maximum security women's prison in Surrey. She's in solitary confinement for her own protection. Other inmates have threatened her. She's one of the most hated women in Britain. She maintains her innocence. She's fighting for her appeal, and she's hoping that one day the truth will come out. This case raises terrifying questions about expert testimony, about statistical evidence, about how we convict people of crimes. Can we be absolutely certain Lucy Letby is guilty, or is there reasonable doubt? The answer matters, because if Lucy is innocent, then she's serving 15 whole life sentences for crimes she didn't commit, and the real cause of those babies' deaths was never found. But if Lucy is guilty, and she's released on appeal, then one of the UK's worst child killers will go free. Thank you for watching American Shadow. This case is still unfolding. The appeal is pending. The public inquiry is ongoing. What do you think? Is Lucy Letby guilty, or is she innocent? Drop your state and your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our stories. This is one of the most controversial cases in the UK right now, and we'll be following it closely. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and remember, the truth isn't always what it seems.